want to sit down with him, see where.
I'm going to be here talking to him. All right. Here we go. I got a video running. Hey, Ray. We can get it going. We'll just go spontaneous here. What I wanted to do, this is the first time, or it's been 55 years since we graduated, and we may not all be together again. Probably the outdoor, we may not be together again. So I wanted to get people's perspective. It's been, a lot has happened in 55 years, and I want to get people's take on it. For example, I want to find out who stayed in Granbury, who moved away, who went to college, who went in the military, who got married, who did whatever. What was, in all of this time, in the last 55 years, what was the most significant thing that ever happened in the world, or not necessarily in your life, but what did you find to be the most significant? How about the most significant music or the most significant literature that you encountered in the last 55 years? For example, Buddy Holly doesn't count before we graduated. So you'll just kind of be. In fact, we'll start with Ray here. All right. You need to kind of look at the camera. There you go. Go for it. Ray and I started out in first grade together at the elementary school, and there are a few others who were started out in the first grade and went all the way through. And so let me start with Ray. What did you find? What was the most significant thing that you've seen in the last 55 years?
After graduation.
Okay, after that.
All right, here we go. After graduation. Actually, I'm sorry. I was talking to you. Here's, I think John gave some hints recently, but immediately some of the things that stick in my mind that were, we put a man on the moon. We had a man walk on the moon.
Nobody else had ever done that before.
And ultimately, of course, there was the Vietnam War, which John and I kind of talked about that earlier. I didn't ever go, but I was close.
And I didn't.
I'll guarantee you, when I got the letter from the draft board that it had to do something thus and so, I found out that if I don't get thus and so, which was to get a college deferment done, I'd probably be in Vietnam in a month. Of course, some of my classmates at Howard Payne College went to Vietnam.
Well, let's find out from the Granbury.
Anybody here go to Vietnam?
Who was in the military after you got out of school? Here we go. Here we go.
I was in the reserve.
Well, I was too. I was in the Navy Reserve. I was in the Navy Reserve.
I was in the Army Reserve.
And,
6 years.
And where did you go? Did you go overseas?
No. I built a golf course.
Okay.
And I worked in a bank, and I needed to turn in a typewritten report. Told the colonel I could not type, so he said, "We'll get you a secretary."
Was that like the Army?
Yeah.
Well, all right. Anybody else in the military after you got out of high school? And how about?
John, you were.
Yeah, I was in the Navy Reserve. In fact, I was in the Navy Reserve in my last year in high school. Then I got out and I did a couple of years senior. And I finished up. Actually, it was 50 years ago this weekend. I finished my reserve duty, and I said, okay, good. And that's what kept me out of Vietnam. I had the DD-214 form waiting. I said, I've already done mine.
James Robinson, did you tell me you were in the military?
Yeah, wet.
Where did you go? What? Did you go to Vietnam?
Went to Granbury High School. No, I went over there. I worked 3 years there. Something there.
All right.
That's pretty good.
So, and who went to college? Raise your hand if you went to college. Right out of high school. You went to college right out of high school. Where did you go? A&M? You went to A&M. Oh, you went to A&M? Okay. Now, how about University of Texas? University of Texas? Okay.
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. All right. Where?
I went to Georgia.
Went to Toronto.
I went to North Texas.
Hi, here's Barbara Jean. Here's someone else from North Texas.
North Texas, right over there.
And
I went to Satkins and Bobby Ann took me with them summer that we graduated from high school. And I lived with them that summer, and they got me enrolled in North Texas.
we have several people here who went to North Texas. And let's see, what else? What was the else on the volunteer something? What?
I thought of one other one. Okay, yeah, good thing. After high school, I didn't go to college, Howard Lane College. Some of you know, I went down on a football scholarship. After I got out of college, I became a teacher coach. First job that I ever had was in Athens, Texas. That's where our daughter was born. And ultimately, one thing that sticks out in my mind was in the classroom the day John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Let me tell you, that, well, from the classroom's perspective, that word did shock everybody. I know that all of a sudden I go out in the hallway, it's somber, and then we'll just find out that it had already happened. The shooting had taken place. But, and I think that I bet everyone know exactly where you were the day you were shot.
Yeah. I was in Dallas, Texas, and had just seen him drive down the street. And
Were you in Dallas?
Yes, I was in Dallas. I worked downtown in a very tall building. And during the lunch hour, we all went down on the elevator to get out on the street and see him. And it happened probably about maybe, I don't know, 10 blocks or something like that from where I was. But by the time we got back into the building, the word had already come back that it had happened. And when I went, I rode a bus to work, and when I got off that afternoon to go home on the bus, the papers were stacked up that high on the street. And I bought the papers, and we still have it.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's significant. This time event.
I worked for Boston Stable Company in Warwick, Rhode Island. And I was the only Texan in a huge office. And people, when that happened, they came, I think it was on my lunch break, maybe right after lunch. They came and said the president had been shot in Dallas. And it was snowing outside. And when we left that day, I was so upset that the president had been killed in my state. And being from Texas, you're really proud of being a Texan. So I walk out to my car, and on my car, written where the snow was on the windshield, it had killer. So that made it doubly bad.
Oh, boy. There are other significant events. Of course, people keep mentioning the Vietnam War. A lot of people died. There was a lot of money spent. A lot of social upheaval that surrounded the war, and ultimately it ended on a very bad note. Anyone else want to nominate something else? How about the Beatles? Does anyone feel that the Beatles made a big impact on music?
I remember the Beatles, but anyway, I was teaching school down at Jacksonville School District on the elementary campus, and I had just finished class, and then it was time for me to go to lunch. I stopped by the library, found out President Kennedy was shot.
Well, I was in college at the time too, and I think I got out of my fluid mechanics class, and I was walking back to the campus field, and I was walking across this parking lot, and a couple of guys were talking, and one of them said, "Wow, did you hear about Kennedy?" And I was waiting for the punchline, because there were a lot of Kennedy jokes floating around. There wasn't any punchline, and like everybody said, it was very somber day, very tragic day. So I remember that as well. And later on, in fact, my most significant event, I was working at the University of Texas, and it was on my lunch break, and I picked up my wife, and we were driving around looking for a place near the campus when the shooting started. Charlie Whitman gunned down about a dozen people on the streets. We were across the street, and we were looking up, and I saw him take a shot, and we said, "We can't be standing here, we're on the wrong side." There's a stone wall on the other side, and we ran across the street. And I'm thinking, you know, the guy, he's 200 yards away. What's his chance of being able to get us? And we got to the other side, and I think it was the 1st of August. There was going to be 105 that day. I said, I do not want to spend the rest of the afternoon behind the stone wall. My car was right there, a 318 V8 engine. We got in the car and floored it. So we missed the rest of it. And I don't regret that last. But anyway, that was one of the most horrific things that ever happened in my small life.
You mentioned the Beatles. I never was a Beatles fan, but I bet you got more Elvis fans than you do Beatles fans.
More Elvis fans. Of course, Elvis was big while we were still in high school.
Yeah, but it continued. Still does.
I just think about it. I bet there are more Elvis fans
Well,
here than there are Beatles fans.
Elvis went off in the army, and that got a lot of attention. And he came back, and he really got bigger than before. In fact, I observed that his music mellowed. He wasn't just a rocker anymore. He was a crooner. Eventually, I thought of the first class. He had a very good voice, and then he probably declined, and at the age of 42, he just died.
Not too much. 1975, we saw Elvis in Las Vegas.
You saw him?
I
Okay.
saw it. Now I can tell you how you get to the front seat of the stage. You just don't run out a $20 bill when that man's taking you down. You just keep putting them in his hand, and you get right at the
He
stage.
can sit on the front seat.
You can get it right on the front stage. She was the second one from the stage.
Okay.
Right there.
So did Elvis make a big impression on everybody here? I mean, once again, considering that he was around even before we graduated from high school.
I don't know what year it was that Elvis went into the service, but Jewel and Glenda and me, we were gonna drive down to Fort Hood to see him. And my parents wouldn't let me go, and they got to go without me. But the sad thing is, I don't think they got to see him. But at least they had the excitement of being close.
Well, I never did. I never did get to see Elvis.
Oh, it was a great show.
I got to tell this. My wife's not going to like this, but she actually has a high school annual from Killeen, Texas, when Elvis was at Fort Hood. Her annual is autographed by Elvis Presley. She has two different autographs on paper of Elvis Presley. She had a slide at one time, a picture of her with Elvis Presley involved. And the slide kind of deteriorated, what kept taking care of it, gave it to me. But nonetheless, Elvis was pretty popular in our area. I still like it.
How about technology? A lot of technology has been developed. In my days, when I first went to the University of Texas, I got to use the computer. They had a computer. That's really ancient history now, right? How is it?
These things right here changed that for us.
You're right. I probably got more power. The computer that we had at the University of Texas was Seymour Clay's first computer, CDC 1604. We got the program back in some of the classes. And now, like you say, you probably got more power in your cell phone. I've got a manual for the CDC, and it tells about being able to process 200,000 instructions per second.
Well, do you remember when we had one electric typewriter?
Well, we only had one electric. Well, who got the electric? I had to use a manual type. Okay. I never could type fast enough. I think I got.
I don't think I ever got to use. I had that old Underwood.
Who got what? All right, everybody who took typing. What was your best typing speed? You got the highest typing. Me, all right. Women don't count.
I passed.
What?
I passed.
I got 36 words a minute.
32.
32.
I was going back to computers.
Oh, all right.
At one time, we lived in Plano, and I worked at, then it was College Radio, became Honeywell, and I don't know what it is now. But I actually was a computer operator, and it was as big as this entire room.
Yeah.
I mean, as big as this entire room.
Because it's all vacuum tubes.
Yeah, exactly. But that was kind of an interesting experience. Yeah.
Who uses the internet these days?
I'm sorry?
I'm going to take a poll. Who uses it? Raise your hand if you use the internet. I'll tell you what, raise your hand if you don't use the internet. There you go.
Oh, you have.
I use it on my phone.
Impressed me, one guy was telling, he's a PhD in electrical engineering, and he said the thing that impressed him was that his mother was on the internet. His mother could use email. I mean, he's from the backwoods of Louisiana, and so if you can imagine the people in the backwoods of Louisiana are using the internet, it's really a riot.
No, your question, how many,
Pat, what?
I said, to get back to typing, I said, I never could make the 30 words a minute.
All right.
But after I got out, I could type 45 words a minute.
All right, I want to tell you that I have. Oh, all right, we can do that. I want to. All right, women only can answer this. I know some of you got 65 words a minute typing. You got 65 of them in typing. Okay, there we go. I needed somebody did. I thought, golly, I'll never be able to get it.
John, speaking of typing, Kitty Bass could not come tonight. But she wanted me to tell all of y'all that she missed y'all and would love to see you. She wasn't able to. Kitty Bass, she was there typing.
All right, when you bring up typing, let me throw this out real quickly. Kitty Bass was probably, she wanted to come, okay? But ultimately today is her birthday. Really, she said that her kids or somebody is gonna have some things going on and she probably was not gonna make it. And also, you mentioned her birthday today, Barbara Lewis's birthday today also.
All right. We can guess.
I thought so, John. I think we're all the same age. So,
oh, on Twitter?
Oh, all right. Who's got a Facebook? Who's on Facebook these days? All right, there we go. Got a lot of people on Facebook. Who has a Twitter account? Oh, I have a Facebook account, but I don't have a Twitter account.
just 3 of us?
I'll tell you what. The reason I give for not being on Twitter is I've never had anything to say that took less than 120 letters. So there's no way I can send a Twitter message. I'll just run over it every time.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna ask, I think we need to shut this down.
Okay.
Actually, dealing with Linda a few weeks ago, I was trying to target somewhere between 5:30 and 6, and she was targeting a little bit closer to 5:30. I compromised, it's gonna happen pretty quick, maybe in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, they just laid out the
So here we go. What I would like to do now, I want to, before I even say a prayer in a few minutes, and then after that, we'll end up people back to kind of where you were seated, and they'll probably start bringing food out pretty quick, okay? But here we go. First thing that I want to do, we want to at least recognize that 4 class members that we lost in the last 5 years, okay? Alita Thompson, ultimately in 2010, I don't remember exactly. And then all of a sudden, just this year, of course, Jenny Christian, Miss Laquita, Jenny Christian, and Jared Bernard. Okay? So, what I'd like to do now is basically just, let's take a moment of silence.